Hello, welcome to week 7 of our series. We are looking at Luke and we are in Luke 10 verses 38 to 42. I'm going to read that with us now and then unpack it a little bit. I'm reading from the English Standard Version and it says, Martha and Mary. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. When we read that story, we are aware that Mary and Martha, they were both Jesus's friends. Mary and Martha were both followers of Jesus. So I think sometimes our initial thoughts are that Mary was good and Martha was bad, but that wasn't the case. They were both good women that Jesus chose to spend time around, and both friends of Jesus, both followers of Jesus. So this isn't a battle of personalities or a story where Jesus is trying to highlight the differences in their personalities. It isn't that at all. At the very start, verse 38, where we start, Martha invites Jesus into her home. She's the hostess, and I'm sure if you've hosted things before, you are aware that that can be a pressure. Even when you are looking forward to the event, it's very different hosting an event to attending something. And Martha, she welcomed Jesus into her home, but where the difference is with Martha and Mary is that Martha welcomed him in and invited him in, but she failed to spend time with him because she was getting so caught up in the details of the serving of the event rather than who she'd welcomed in. I think when I read it, I look at it as a way that Martha showed her love through serving, through inviting people in, that she had good intentions to have people over and wanted them to have a nice time with her in her house. She wanted it to be perfect, probably. She probably wanted to sit at Jesus' feet just like Mary did, which is why she was getting so frustrated, because she was focused on, you know, the serving. And in other versions it says that she was making a big dinner for them, so she would have been cooking and setting the table. And again, if you think, we've just had Christmas not that long ago, and it can be stressful, and you look forward to having everyone round, but then you worry about the details and the napkins and not burning the dinner. And I'm sure that was exactly the same for Martha, that she wanted to show Jesus love in this way by having him round, spend time with him, having the dinner, but that focus of preparing and serving then became a distraction rather than the main the main focus of it. Mary showed love in a different way. Mary showed love by being in Jesus's presence. Mary sat at his feet and spent time with Jesus. And instead of hosting and worrying, getting caught up at the details, I think she remembered who Jesus was. Like I said, they were friends. They would have spent a lot of time together. They would have known about Jesus' miracles. So I'm sure Mary was confident that if Jesus was hungry, he'd probably be all right to sort himself out. And so she realized that the most important thing that she could do was spend time with him. At the time, culturally, I know we're all aware, but women wouldn't have been invited to sit at a man's feet and be taught. They would have been serving. So again, that's probably some of Martha's tension as well, that as Jesus came and showed a different way, she probably wanted to be sat there. She was aware culturally it was different, there was things to do, and Jesus was revolutionary in how he treated women, that everyone was welcome. Women and men were treated as equals. Women were treated with respect and dignity. So he didn't cast Mary away and tell her to go and help Martha, because Mary was just as important as other people who were sat listening and being taught and spending time with Jesus. And he turned everything upside down in the best way, and that's seen in this story as well, which is one of the reasons that I love it. Everyone was invited to sit at his feet. Everyone was welcome. And Mary found and knew her place. Mary wasn't distracted by what was going on around her. Mary wasn't worried about the dinner. Mary knew Martha was around flapping, but it didn't concern her because she knew Jesus was more important. Serving is part of our nature, and as followers of Jesus, it's an important part of our nature. But I think the main thing is doing it with the right attitude, and again we see that in this story. Martha, she isn't wrong to be stressed about the event. She just hasn't dealt with it very well, and it's affected her attitude and her character. And then her serving, whilst it was intended probably for a good reason to invite Jesus in, has got caught up in this wrong attitude, and it's negative, and it's become a hindrance and a burden rather than being a way to show Jesus love and to be ready to prepare the feast for people and to see it as an act of love. It's become a hindrance and a problem, and it's not fair, and it comes out directed at Jesus. She's cross with Mary for not helping and for putting all of it on her and for not helping her get ready, but it comes out at Jesus, and it is a pressure. And I think Martha had good intentions, but she didn't want to do it alone, and she wanted to have Mary with her, and she wanted to have help, and she probably wanted to sit at Jesus' feet as well. So her frustrations come out, and in verse 40, you can really see that human aspect of her, just sort of the tension all just coming out, where she says, "Do you not care? God, do you not care?" And I think sometimes we have similar experiences with things that we're doing and we're part of, that we can actually be frustrated about the details or about something else, and we take it out on God. Well, do you not care? Do you not notice? Do you not see all that I'm doing? Do you not see that I'm serving in this way? Do you not see that I'm contributing in this way, or I do this for my family, or I do this at work, or I'm serving here at church? And it comes out with the wrong attitude, and it's affected our character, and where it's meant to have come from a place of love because Jesus loves us, it's come out of frustration. The attitude that we have is so important, and I think it's just shown really well in this story, the difference. Mary is humble. Mary has humbled herself before Jesus. She knows there's things that need doing, but she's chosen to remember who Jesus is, humble herself before him and sit, and she's willing to sacrifice her time and sacrifice potentially a nice meal at the end of it, because to her, learning from Jesus and spending that time with him was more important than anything else on the day. She hadn't let herself get distracted by the little details, but she'd really understood who Jesus was, and was willing to trade the perfect event at Martha's house or the perfect hosting experience for being in Jesus' presence. And I think that's the main thing of what I want to talk about today, and it's about presence over perfect, that we don't need things to be perfect, we need to be in God's presence, and by doing that it allows our attitude and our character to be changed so that we can love others and serve with the right attitude in a way that is through love and not through frustration, and like we feel like we're doing the right thing but we've missed the point of what we should be doing. When we live like this, we look more like Jesus and people watch. When we handle things who do we blame? Do we forget about God at those points when stress and troubles come? Or, do we blame him? Does God not care? Or are we humble? Do we sit at his feet? Do we choose to spend that time with Jesus and allow him to change us, so that whatever's going on around us, we're still choosing him and we're still choosing to spend that time in his presence? I think Martha's response is a natural human response. I think throughout periods of our life, we're all Marthas and we're all Marys. Like I said, I don't think it's a battle of personalities. I don't think one sister is good and one sister is bad. I think Martha's response is our natural human response, if we're honest. I know I've probably been a bit of a Martha to Mark sometimes and expected him to help me when we've had friends over, or can you not see that I'm trying to get the food ready and the kids fed and this sorted, and we can all have our Martha moments. But I think it's important that we also choose to have Mary moments and humble ourselves and allow Jesus to change us in his presence, so that we are willing and happy to trade perfect for his presence. He knows that we're not perfect. He knows that we have both moments. And I think that, again, is demonstrated in these verses, in how he responds to Martha. He isn't annoyed at Martha. He doesn't cast her out. He doesn't say she's not welcome to sit at his feet. You can almost hear his tone when he's saying, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled by many things. You can tell he cares and he's kind, and he draws her close, and he doesn't exclude her. He doesn't condemn her. He doesn't fly off the handle and say, it doesn't even matter about dinner. I fed 5,000 people with 2 loaves and fish. Like, it doesn't matter. I can sort my dinner out. He doesn't get cross with her. He still includes her and he comforts her. And I think that, again, that just shows Jesus' character and nature, and why it's so important that we do spend that time with him. If we aim for presence over perfect, and if we spend time at Jesus' feet, we can serve from a humble heart, and we can serve better. We can allow Jesus to change us, and we may still be doing the same things, but we will notice a difference in how we're doing them. God wants us to serve well, so that others can see, and we can lead them to Jesus so they can know God. We shouldn't be serving for ourselves, or because we think we have to, or because we think it's what we should be doing. Martha obviously invited people in and thought, well, I have to cook the dinner. I understand that. But God wants us to do it from the right place and with the right attitude and with the right character. He doesn't want us to be being so annoyed by doing the practical day-to-day bits and bobs that we then miss what's going on around us. Martha is missing what's going on around her and how maybe she can meet the needs or learn from who's around her, because she's so fixated on the stress of cooking the dinner and of serving the dinner. And I think there are times that that may be true in our lives as well, that it might be that we're at work and, well, I've got to get this job done, and we miss the person next to us trying to confide in us, or we miss an opportunity out and about because, well, I need to get to the shop to do this, and we forget that there's other people going around their day carrying lots of things that maybe we could help with, we know Jesus could help with. And the way to get other people to Jesus is through us, and how we treat people and how we come alongside them, and our kindness, because God's shown us kindness, we can show others. And I think sometimes when we strive for perfect and it becomes about this needs doing, we miss the chances and the opportunities in amongst those moments, and the opportunities that God has given us to meet needs of others, by putting the perfect to one side and remembering to truly see people and spend time with people. Jesus shows us the same kindness when we're having our Martha moments. And so I just really wanted to encourage you this week to choose to sit at Jesus' feet, to choose to spend that time with him, to choose and be willing to make a trade for presence over perfect. We all have ideas in our head of how we think things are going to go in life, or when we've arranged something, and I mean, for me in my life, 9 times out of 10 it hasn't gone that way. It hasn't gone how I thought clearly in my head at all. And I think this story really highlights, if we're willing to trade presence for perfect, if we get rid of the perfect and we choose to spend that time sat at Jesus' feet like Mary did, if we choose to fill ourselves with Jesus' words, what God's saying to us, if we choose to sit in that space and learn from him, we can go out of that space with our character changed, with our attitude changed. We're able to serve from a place of love because God's loved us, rather than because we have to and it needs doing and we're stressed and, you know, we're striving for something and we're getting frustrated with other people and we're directing it at Jesus, or we're directing it at the Marys in our life, and we think, I'd love to just sit at Jesus' feet, but I can't because I've got work and I've got kids to feed and I've got school runs and I've got jobs to do and I've got to help this person next door and I've got to drop food off at the food bank and I've, you know, XYZ, all the things that we cram into our days and our weeks. If we choose to humble ourselves and just sit at Jesus' feet and allow him to change us, we can do those things, but with the best heart and the best attitude, remembering who Jesus is and choosing to spend that time with him, and go out to others around us in that place of being in his presence and surrounded by his love, and really learning from him, that we're able to serve better and love well where we are. So we're going to take 5 minutes to do that now, and sit wherever you are, wherever you're watching this week, and just put 5 minutes aside, sit at Jesus' feet, spend that time with him, reread the verses, however it works best for you, that you want to do it, and just take 5 minutes to spend that time with Jesus now. I hope that has encouraged you this week. I hope that you've had time to sit at his feet, and going forward just to see if there are moments in your day when you feel like you're Martha, when you feel overwhelmed and stressed and like everything needs doing, that you're willing to trade, putting the practical to one side, doing what you have to do. Obviously things need doing, I'm not saying they don't need doing, but doing what you have to do, but also being aware of what could wait and choosing to spend that time sat with Jesus in his presence, trading perfect for presence. And let me know how it goes this week. I'd love to hear if you've seen a difference and how God's been speaking to you and changing you as a consequence of making that trade. I'd love to hear. Have a great week, and yeah, see you soon.